viewers of The Pioneer, how are you doing? I hope you're healthy and well. As the Pioneer team, we continue to bring the Russia-Ukraine war to your screens. We will soon convey to you a very critical development related to the war. Since the first days of the war, we have seen that the Ukrainian sabotage groups have carried out a very successful operations to save their country in the occupied Ukrainian territory. We have reported these operations many times in our reports. In recent days, we have been observing a calmness in these sabotage groups. However, in recent days, Ukrainian sabotage groups have mobilized again. The name of the sabotage group that mobilized was Crimean War Girls. Last month, the group made a statement on social media and shared the details of the poisoning operations against the Russian soldiers with the public. 24 of the Russian soldiers poisoned as a result of the operations organized in the city of Simferopol lost their lives, and 11 of them were hospitalized. According to recent reports, the Crimean War Girls groups was not satisfied with this. So what are the details of the operations carried out by the Crimean War Girls sabotage group? Let's take a look at the developments together. As the Pioneer team, we continue to bring you developments regarding Russian-Ukrainian war. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so as not to miss our map reports and reports on the agenda. I also read all your comments on our videos. Please continue to express your opinions about our content. Let's start if you are ready, the Pioneer reports. At the end of the last month, some Moscow sources made public information about the operations carried out by two young saboteurs in the Crimean peninsula town of Bakhchisaray. However, this information was later suppressed. This was probably a mistake, because the Russian military usually did not publish this information in order to conceal successful operations carried out by the Ukraine. However, later on, when many allegations were made on the subject, Russian sources started to share the information with the public again. According to reports, two young saboteurs poisoned the Russian soldiers with substances that have not yet been identified. According to the reports, the poison in question was given to the Russian soldiers with beer and pies. High doses of rat poison and the arsenic are also among the allegations. However, as we mentioned, criminal investigations on the subject continue. It is among the reports that 18 people died due to the poisoned beer and pies, and 13 more people were hospitalized after the last poisoning operation. It was reported that the Russian Federal Security Service took action after these reports and took action to capture two young Ukrainian saboteurs. According to reports, Russian Federal Security Service personnel detected that the two young Ukrainian saboteurs were hiding in a private house in Yalta, Crimean Peninsula. The button was then pressed for the operation. However, the two young Ukrainian saboteurs were prepared. Moscow sources also received information about the operation carried out by the Russian Federal Security Service from the Russian Federal Security Service. The statements of the Moscow sources about the failed operations are as follows. The saboteurs turned out to be well-armed and well-prepared. We did not expect it. We thought we caught the saboteurs unprepared, but it was we who were unprepared. Moreover, someone had warned them about our visit. We have guesses about this, but we think are certain, but we can't prove it. As soon as our special teams came to arrest them, they opened fire on them with pistols and automatic weapons. We were only able to fire a few shots in return. We were unable to resist further. The saboteurs fled the scene in a vehicle. We tried to follow the vehicle, but the saboteurs continued to fire at our teams during the pursuit. The pursuit had to be terminated. They abandoned the vehicle on the outskirts of the Yalta. When we found the car, there were no one in the neighborhood. We didn't catch the saboteurs and we don't know where they are now. This poisoning operation carried out by the Ukrainian sabotage groups had caused great fear and panic on the Russian side. In addition, Moscow sources claim that the Russian war leadership has banned the purchase of the food and drink from the foreigners to prevent new poisonings. There is also a very striking situation related to this incident. The details which stands out the statements of the Federal Security Service official, reveals that there is a security weakness in the Russian army and the official institutions. According to the Federal Security Service officials, the two young Ukrainian saboteurs were prepared for the operation. In other words, they knew that the special forces would carry out an operation against them. Therefore, when the operation against the saboteurs began, the saboteurs were able to respond immediately. Of course, the Russian special teams did not expect this. Therefore, the response of the saboteurs were successful. The problem of the security weaknesses in the Russian official institutions is growing day by day. This institution is already reflected on the front line. However, the possibility of this situation growing in the coming days has increased even more. Failed Russian attacks, especially on the front line, paved the way for the Russian soldiers to cooperate with the Ukrainian army. The easiest way for the Russian personnel who are tired of war to get rid of this situation is to cooperate with the Ukrainian army. We know that the Russian military bloggers often share reports on the states of the Russian army with the public. In recent days, these authors have shared with the public a very critical information about the Russian army. The last report shared by the Russian military bloggers is about the Kherson front line. As we often mentioned in our map reports, both armies' units are very tired in this region. The wear and tear of the Russian army is more. Russian bloggers also expressed this situation, especially the late movement of the Russian army in the attacks against the Ukrainian army is characterized as a big joke. Recently, a Russian source made the following statements about the situation in the region. What are the commanders on the Dnieper River trying to do? Why is the fire of our artillery so slow and inadequate? Ukrainian aircraft are brazenly flying over Crimean. They hit and rear off our troops with the both guided and unguided missiles, but our troops don't have time to shoot them down because they're waiting for permission. What's Teplinsky doing? He's waiting too. It takes a long time to get permission to hit a target. Whether it's an air defense missile system's location area or personal density, it's necessary to provide photo or video information and a slide with the coordinates. Artillery support has become useless. The human factor remains the most painful part. Over time, it is possible to saturate the front line with various weapons and systems, but it's more difficult to cope with the extremely slow thinking of decision makers. In addition, according to the Russian sources, who also reports information from the Kherson front line, almost 90% of the Russian equipment sent to the region was destroyed by the attacks of the Ukrainian army. Now tell me, what do you think? Do you think there is a security weakness within the Russian official organizations? How do you assess the response of the Ukrainian saboteurs to the Russian operation? Do you think Ukrainian saboteurs will carry out more operations? Let me know in the comments. You know that I read and I care about all your comments.